This is ABC-7 at 9 on the El Paso Las Cruces CW.
I believe that if somebody's built a better mousetrap, we shouldn't punish them.
Uber's also growing local economies and creating tens of thousands of entrepreneurial opportunities for Texans. Our success is largely dependent on driver partners.
We pay a lot of taxes, and people don't know. We pay property taxes, we pay taxi permit, we pay 3% every year annually, we pay airport sticker, we pay commercial insurance. That's a lot of money. And every 2 years we have to renew this license.
Old school taxi drivers in El Paso fighting for their livelihood. They're upset because they say they are heavily regulated and have to pay taxes and fees, while Uber drivers show up unregulated and take a piece of their pie. Today, Uber joined the discussion by sending its reps to speak before City Council. Good evening and thanks for joining us on ABC-7 at 9 on the CW. I'm Ashley Rodriguez. Taxi drivers are urging City Council to regulate Uber just the way it regulates taxis. Uber saying it's apples and oranges. The company says it's not a taxi, so it shouldn't be regulated like one. ABC-7's Maria Garcia reports.
I'll be the first to say that technology that they're employing is great. I can't wait for the cab company industry to get up to that level.
Border taxi cab company owner Joe Olivar gets why Uber is convenient, but he believes the company is operating illegally.
They need to be made to comply and work under the same rules.
Rules that Uber says were meant for taxis, not a technology company.
We are a technology company at our core. That is what we do. We developed an app that basically pairs riders to drivers.
Uber says it's providing a demand not met by taxis.
Innovation will thrive and it will bring about new ways of doing things.
If I don't have to pay any fees, if I don't have to pay any permits, if my drivers don't have to go through background checks, then I would see an increase in my business as well, believe me.
We're going to get some pushback.
Taxi companies say its drivers could pay up to $8,000 a year for city permits and fees. They have to get 4 inspections a year, duplicate chauffeur's licenses, and 4 background checks from federal, state, and local agencies. City Rep Emma Acosta says part of the solution is getting rid of some of those unnecessary regulations for taxis.
Take away a lot of those restrictions that sometimes don't even make sense anymore.
I don't want the bar lowered. The bar is set for reasons, for safety reasons. We need to make sure that everybody else comes up to that bar. Do not lower the bar.
There are ways to definitely simplify that ordinance to make sure that it is up to date and that it's one that benefits all transportation entities and not just us or not just taxi.
And that was Maria Garcia reporting. City Council voted unanimously to have the city manager either update or write a new ordinance for the industry, which hasn't been changed since 1997. We'll have to wait and find out if that will either loosen regulations on taxis or attempt to regulate Uber. And judging from the comments on our social media network, ABC-7 viewers have no sympathy for taxi drivers. Franco writes, there's absolutely no way they can regulate Uber. When visitors come, they're going to use Uber because that's all other cities use. It's convenient and costs less than taking a cab. Tori writes, I hate the local taxi companies. I would much rather take an Uber than a taxi. I've had taxis blatantly not show up. They've picked up other passengers and didn't even bother to call or cancel. And Joe chimed in, Uber is the future. Fair competition in a free market, cab companies can compete by stepping up their game. We'll have to wait and see what City Council decides to do. Damage caused by a storm forces the closure of the post office in Canutillo. Take a look. Yesterday evening storm damaged their building's roof. Postal Service clerks were turning away customers today as a construction crew started repairing the roof. A mechanic who works nearby tells us he witnessed what appeared to be a microburst destroy the building's roof.
We were on our way out and we saw a big whirlwind come in. It could have been maybe 60 miles an hour, maybe 40 or 60 miles an hour, and it just blasted through the place. And we heard a big noise. We came out after everything was done and we saw the roof come off the post office.
And if the Canutillo Post Office services your area, take a look at your screen. Postal Service officials say about 3,500 customers will have to pick up their mail at the Coronado Post Office. It's in West El Paso at 7383 Rincon Circle. Officials still don't know when the post office in Canutillo will reopen. Let's go ahead and send to StormTrack weather now. Nicole Gomez has your first forecast. Hi, Nicole.
Hi there, Ashley. We also picked up some storms in Doña Ana County today, but we'll take a closer look at that storm, how much hail was dropped, and your full forecast. Currently, let's talk about those temperatures. Right now at the airport in El Paso, we're still pretty hot out there in the upper 80s. 77 Guadalupe Pass. Out in TRC, we're at 71 degrees, 64 out in Silver City. So temperature is not a problem. But we did pick up light rain at the airport in El Paso. 0.03 Las Cruces. Again, some portions of Doña Ana, we did see heavy rainfall. Now notice on our future track model, we still have that moisture in place through Wednesday afternoon. But in your full forecast, we will talk about the potential for rain this week. But currently on Doppler radar, as you can see, most of the heaviest rainfall and even thunderstorms are around Silver City, moving towards the west. And it looks like we have some light rain possibly falling in Las Cruces. Now coming up, we're into partly cloudy skies tonight. Isolated storms still possible. We'll also talk about the warm-up we're expecting this week. That's all coming up. Ashley?
All right, Nicole. 8 people across the U.S. are suing Ashley Madison, a website for cheaters, after hackers released the names, emails, home addresses, financial data, and message history of the website's users. Yesterday, ABC-7 found a database on Interworks that listed Ashley Madison users by zip code. We found more than 250 Ashley Madison customers in El Paso and 60 customers in Las Cruces. Uh-oh, guys. The plaintiffs in the lawsuit are seeking class action status to represent the website's estimated 37 million registered users. The lawsuits claim Ashley Madison failed to take reasonable steps to protect the security of its users, including those who paid a special fee to have their information deleted. 20 years in prison. That's the punishment handed down to Brian Gametto, the drunk driver who killed a nursing student. Last week, a jury found Gametto guilty of intoxicated manslaughter for the death of 22-year-old Crystal Saldana. Gametto was speeding in his PT Cruiser when he clipped Saldana's Mazda, causing it to spin into oncoming traffic. A pickup heading in the opposite direction crashed into Saldana's car. And while one drunk driving trial wraps up, another is still on schedule to begin this Friday. 24-year-old Joel Garcia is facing 3 counts of intoxicated manslaughter for allegedly driving drunk and killing 3 people this past Christmas Eve. Police say Garcia was drunk when he ran a red light and crashed into a vehicle. Brothers Joshua and Isaiah Deal and Joshua's girlfriend Shannon Del Rio died in the crash. Garcia has pleaded not guilty. Univision anchor Jorge Ramos confronted Donald Trump during an Iowa press conference Tuesday. Ramos, who has been trying in vain for several weeks to get an interview with Trump, asked questions without being called on by Trump. And take a look at what happened.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, please. Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision. Go ahead.
You cannot deport 11 million.
Go ahead.
You cannot deport 11 million people. You cannot build a 1900
Go ahead.
wall. You cannot deny citizenship to children in this
Sit
country.
down, please.
Those ideas,
You weren't called.
I'm a reporter and don't touch me, sir. Don't touch me.
Go.
You cannot touch me. I have the right to ask a question. I have the right to ask a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Hi, Chip. Yes.
No,
No, I wouldn't do that. She actually should be apologizing to me.
Go back to Univision. Security escorted Ramos out of the room after being let back in. A short time later, the two had a tense back and forth on immigration. Take a listen.
Yes. Good. Absolutely. Good. Absolutely. Good to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
How are you going to report 11 million? Here's what
we're going to do. Ready?
Are you going to bring the army?
No. Let me tell you. We're going to do it in a very humane fashion. Believe me. I have a bigger heart than you do. I want them to come back. And I want them to get documentation and get it so they become legal.
How do you report 11
It's going to
million?
be, you know what it's called? Management. So you're not used to good management because you're always talking about government.
Just imagine.
Let me just tell you, wait. Government is incompetent.
That's why he's running for a position in the government. The confrontation had many of you sounding off on our social media network today. Ian writes, Jorge Ramos is the most influential Hispanic man in the United States. Trump is a great showman, but a genius he is not. And Joe commented, Trump doesn't respect Latinos. He thinks he is above us, and that's why he doesn't address concerns. Audrey defended the Republican presidential hopeful. This man should have waited his turn. Trump called on another gentleman. This guy stood up and tried talking over him. His own fault. Reporters know the protocol. Got to love Trump, for his entertainment value anyways. A lot more still to come here on ABC-7 at 9 on the CW. UTEP is celebrating a very big honor tonight. We'll tell you why the university is being mentioned in the same breath as Stanford and Harvard. Also, why homeowners in a West El Paso neighborhood are upset over the solution to an irritating parking problem. And we'll explain why the county of Doña Ana is giving away these so-called mosquito fish for free. Nicole?
Well, there's storms developing on Doppler radar. Will you see rain tonight? We'll take a look at the latest future track computer model coming up in StormTrack weather.